Hey everybody, it's Eric Balance coming to you with the Resilient Minds podcast, where I feature beautiful entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts in their field, where they help us discover their X factor, their experience of life, only to discover how they were able to accomplish and find out their Y factor, their big why, their purpose in life. So join me as we get to discover the beauty of our minds and how can we really continue to go after the biggest and most wildest dreams while we continue to pursue and manifest our greatest intelligence that comes from the heart. Also, if you haven't, go check out the new alignment course that I've created at www.ericbalance.com/alignment, ALIGNMENT. See you on the show. Welcome everyone to the Resilient Minds podcast. We're coming back today with Brandon. Sorry, bro. It's always funny how, when we're getting to know people live, how beautiful it gets to come out. And I'm just grateful to meet you, bro. I'm grateful to connect. We're new friends on the same path. So welcome to the show, bro.
Thanks for having me. It's funny because you remind me, you look a little bit like, I'm looking at a picture of you on the internet. I'm like, oh, you kind of look like my friend Teddy. And I remember him like a couple weeks ago. He's like, we've been friends a long time and I'm still confused. Is it Brandon? Is it Brendan? It's like, your name is the most confusing name. And I've never heard that before from someone and I'm like, you call me anything you want.
It's funny because there's a lot of Brendan or Brandons, and it's so similar but yet so different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For everybody that doesn't know, Brandon Beachum, this is a beautiful soul. Really intentional thought leader, speaker, author, philosopher, entrepreneur, and host also of his own podcast called Positive Head. He's also got a late night talk show called Optimistic. And a little few things about Brandon. So, since childhood, you've been a serial entrepreneur. And so that's been something that's really been present for you. So tell us a little bit about, I really want to go deeper within this actually, about this serial entrepreneurship. But actually, before we go into that, for those that are, again, getting to know, in 2011, Brandon has spent time, living on a friend's couch, and during that time, you co-founded Resort Share. So I'd love to know more about that and how you got to 569th fastest growing private company in America, and what really built that, and how we how people can learn from those endeavors, because I think there's a lot of wisdom that's curated during that time. Yeah. And amidst that, what really came to fruition, this ultimate nature of what you call reality. So with that, I'd love to really, first of all, thank you. And for those of you that don't know, get buckled in, get excited, because we've got a lot of wisdom coming at you.
Thank you for that intro, Eric. And to answer your question, to go to your first statement about Resort Share, it's interesting because I started having my own sort of, I like to call it remembering of the ultimate nature of reality, and this, the basic understanding that I'm one with the source consciousness that creates and animates all things. As are you, as is everyone listening. There's only one of us in the room, one of us hearing these, this vibrational offering, if you will. And so as I sort of had my own remembering, it led me down the path of like, oh my gosh, I am source, playing human as this avatar, Brandon Beachum, in this case, through this particular jumping off point, if you will. And how do I, take that information and actually utilize it in a way to create magic in my life? And so, it's one thing to understand some of these concepts, and it's a whole nother thing to to live it and walk the talk. And so that's really my journey, has been a lot of that. 25 years of deep exploration of the ultimate nature of reality, I just wrote a book called The Golden Key recently, kind of summarizing that, which I'd be happy to gift to the listeners at the end, or I can, whenever I can tell them how to get that for free. But
For sure.
it it's been quite the journey. And part of that journey was, I have a lot of stories of synchronicity and serendipity and sort of spiritual breadcrumbs, as I like to call them. I think that's a big part of, when someone is really tuning into the greatest and grandest version of themselves, they'll start to have a lot more of that stuff open up. And I share a lot on my show, Positive Head, about it, as they unfold in real time. And, there's a lot of, as a friend used to call me, Mr. Synchronicity. And so I have a lot of that sort of stuff. And one of my biggest spiritual breadcrumb stories was launching a music distribution platform in like 2009 timeframe. And it's incredible story. I have a whole podcast where I share it. I won't go into all the details here. And I can tell people how to find that particular episode. But this platform is called Industry, INDUSTREE. And it was like, the idea was reinventing the music industry. And it was like a MySpace meets Spotify meets, I had my own token on everything, had a tree theme on the platform. All the artists were branches, for example. I had my own currency called blooms. So before crypto, I was, people were using and earning blooms, and I was paying, exchanging them for dollars. So I had my own exchange, and I didn't know at the time that would become such a thing. But so Industry, I think I was led through very sort of intense spiritual breadcrumbs to launch that platform, and it grew to thousands of users and years to put together. And then I hit some personal challenge in my life. There was my brother was my business partner, and his girlfriend committed suicide, and that was a tragedy that kind of was a blow to what we were doing. Really shook him up. Took him years to really recover. And then the little bit of investment capital I had to put the project together, sort of the person pulled out the remaining amount that they had agreed they would put in, and just challenges. So I decided to put Industry on hold, and I was like, okay, if I'm infinitely abundant, I'm going to manifest the resources, the financial resources, to do this platform right without without the limitations I'm facing right now and all the financial challenges. And that's when, at the time I hit sort of a low point. I ended up on my friend's couch. Actually, it was my child's mother and her husband, who we're all friends. And, that's not the most standard situation, but I stayed with them for a while. And that's when Resort Chair was birthed. And it was, it came up with the idea for this, once again, followed the breadcrumbs into a career path that I hadn't really planned on, involving travel. And, with the idea of, I'm going to manifest the financial resources to do Industry right. Right. And it took off like a rocket ship. It went from me on my friend's couch to, a few years later, the Inc. 569th fastest growing private company in the US, 100 plus employees, doing north of $10 million a year in revenue, which only 1 in 10,000 entrepreneurs ever achieves. It's quite the accomplishment. And I did it from the couch with no startup capital, and so it was really, for me, the first big testament to what I had been, at that point, over 10 years on my spiritual path. Like, I am infinitely abundant. Okay, let's, results speak the loudest. So how's that working out for you, tapping into that, that resource, if you will, that infinite resource at your disposal? And so that Resort Chair itself became a journey in its own right, with twists, turns, betrayal stories from best friends and business partners, and getting offered to be bought out for $30 million, and then within 12 hours of that offer, losing 90% of our revenue and blowing up the whole deal. It's a whole saga itself. Another story for another day. Or if you want me to go deeper, I could. And it kind of led me to what's interesting is now here we are all these years later, and I kind of thought, okay, the Industry thing, that was another timeline. I did what I was supposed to do with it and put it aside. And now, just in the recent year or so, I've been led by the spiritual breadcrumbs, like, oh, actually, you're supposed to bring it back now. It's better suited now, using blockchain technology and allowing fractional ownership, allowing fans to become more integrated with artists and music artists and things like that. So that's the journey I'm, looking at, kind of revamping and starting. I've actually just started down the path of industry version 2. And yeah, so that's maybe more than you bargained for with an answer, but yeah, that's how the story flows, if you will.
I love it. I think that there's a lot. There's so much there, Brandon. Like there's so much value that you just dropped. And there. One thing I really want to, just before we get into the deeper part of all that you've grown and all that you've built within yourself, these breadcrumbs that you continue to follow, and you continue to speak to, really paying attention to identifying. If somebody is listening right now and they're really curious about the breadcrumbs, right? Like, what does that mean to you? And how could they start once you can describe it, how can they also start following that level of awareness of the breadcrumbs that are always being shown to us? However, we get to choose if we want to really follow them.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's Robert Grant, who I've had as a guest on my podcast, said it very well. And I'm kind of paraphrasing. I wish I had the exact. I tried to just pull up the quote here. I couldn't quite find it, but synchronicity is God's. It's the divine encryption. It's like it's all patterns, and as you sort of lift the veil, and that's really one of the things that makes humans really effective, as effective as we are as a species, as an animal, is our ability for pattern recognition. And so the next layer of that, I believe, comes as the blinders of reality kind of go from here to here. You start seeing more of the game in which we're immersed as playing human, or as Ram Dass said, God and drag. Then you start to see like, oh, hold on, it's all patterns and reflections and mirrors, and it's always reflecting you back to you. You are the lead actor, director, star in your own private universe. YOU, universe. That's one of the keys I talk about, mastering the universe, in my book, The Golden Key. And and so once you start to kind of navigate from that perspective, navigate your reality, like, this is the baseline. I'm the lead actor in my own private movie. Everyone is a prop in my movie. I'm the star here. But in vice versa. It doesn't mean sometimes people fall down this spiritual narcissistic rabbit hole of like, I am the one. And I think that's a part of the path for us all, because we are all the one. But don't get too full of yourself, because Eric's the one and every listener is the one. We're all the one. And there's infinite timelines and realities where there's versions of your avatar that do incredible things. So the game becomes, because God, source, the universe, higher self, whatever you want to call it, is infinite. So it plays out all these possibilities. And so once you start realizing, and that's your, when I was on my friend's couch, I still believed and knew and felt that I was it. I wasn't defined by my challenges. They're actually, it's what helps you to sharpen the axe. It's like, as Rumi said, how will your mirror become polished if you're annoyed by every rub? Right. So you're really, or there's many ways to say this, smooth seas never made for a skilled sailor, and you came to be a skilled sailor. Right. So if you are having challenge, congratulations. That's what's actually making you into the formidable, incredible, divine being you are meant to become. And, without that friction, you can't evolve and grow. So if you're in the midst of a challenging growth spurt, the good news is this too shall pass. On the other side of that is the win. So you start learning to look at reality through the, like, life is happening for me, not to me. And if it's challenging, the question is, why is this happening for me? Where's the gift in this? Maybe I don't see it yet, but I trust the mystery of it. I know that's how things are structured. So it's inevitable that it makes itself known to me. And so as you start to see through these eyes, your reality through these eyes, you start noticing more of like, these, like I call them spiritual breadcrumbs or serendipities, synchronicities. It's like, oh, I was just, I was just thinking about this or talking about this. And sometimes they're little because it's all reflecting you back to you, right? There is no out there. And so you start thinking, okay, well, sometimes it's just you're seeing the threads of connectivity, and it's like it's just a reflection. It's a confirmation. It's cute. And other times it's like, oh my God, like, some crazy multi-layered wild synchronicity just happened where, like the industry story, I mean, involves someone claiming to be a time traveler and, wild stuff that just like, I don't know if I'm losing my mind or this is real, but I'm going to be open, and so it it can get really, in my experience, really intense sometimes.
I agree. I think that this intensity is something that we have been told. At least for myself, there's been a piece where, for a very long time, people have told me that I was too intense and too much this, and I realized that that was their projection and rather than my own reflection. And what I realized is that the deeper I went inside, the more I realized that this infinite possibility is really about noticing the certainty that I bring to the table. And so how do those, like for me, I find that those of us know that, hey, that ancient saying that, the truth is that we're actually here alone.
Yeah.
How do we get to that space? Because I have a different pathway than you do, and I think that I'm very curious to know, because for me it was about actually knowing that if somebody was going to project onto me their own limits, that I took way more of a responsible role in stepping into certainty rather than fearing the uncertainty that was being projected onto me. So the external circumstance had nothing to do with the way that I was going to show up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's an important thing to get, is like when you you really move into more self-mastery as a being, you are choosing how you show up irregardless of what is there when you get there. So most people are acting and living their life as a puppet on a string, right? If this happens, I'm happy. If this happens, I'm sad. If this happens, and once you realize like, oh, hold on, like the book Untethered Soul talks about this, written by Michael Singer, beautiful book. And he talks about how important it is to leave your heart open no matter what, right? In that book, because that is your connection to source. That's, if the faucet of infinite chi and prana and energy and consciousness is turned on or off by your heart, well, why would I ever let any external circumstance allow me to turn it off? Because the way we're programmed is subconsciously we're navigating our reality. Oh, if I smell a certain smell that it's like reminds me of my grandmother's cooking when I was 5 years old, and I loved my grandmother and she's gone now, and I smelled that smell, my heart blasts open because it's a positive association, right? If if something happens, oh, this person says this to me and now I'm mad, then my heart closes. Well, what you just allowed them to do is dictate you cutting off your supply of chi and connection to source energy. So the game becomes, I'm going to show up keeping my heart open and in my heart, regardless of what happens. Then if I just leave the faucet open all the time, what happens? It's just constantly coming in, and now it's overflowing from me, right? And now I'm just that you train yourself to live and navigate in this way, and you become this, what is it about Eric that's like so powerful? He's so incredible to be around. There's so much good energy around, it's because you have trained yourself instead of subconsciously driving the Ferrari, start, stop, start all day, every day. You're leaving the faucet open. And so that becomes a huge, huge piece. And so when people are showing up to challenge you, right, in some way, instead of seeing them as like, oh, how could he say that or think that or do that? It's like, they're actually helping you to sharpen your axe. So they're actually there to serve you. I had Neil Donald Walsh, the author of Conversations with God books, on my podcast about a month ago or so. It's one of my top people I wanted to have on, having read his books in the late 90s. I love those books, and they're so impactful in my life early on in my spiritual journey. And, he talks about this God in his messaging to Neil, remember, I've sent you nothing but angels. And so when you start navigating from that vantage point, it looks very different now, than this external thing did this thing to me and how dare they, and it's about me being right, versus getting the true lesson. It's all helping you to sharpen your axe and become more. They don't necessarily, the guy flipping you off on the road doesn't necessarily know that's what he's doing for you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there is a soul contract there that's going on that
Yeah.
is beyond your remembrance. And when you start navigating from that understanding and perspective, it all starts to look different and be experienced different. And the results that you get from the interaction become different.
So beautifully put, brother, because this is something that if we listen, we can start having the conversations with our great teacher and understand that we're always being communicated to. There's always something being taught. There's always this illumination of the path, and this infinite level of resources and choices is ours to choose. And so it's the way that we get to look at each moment in the way that it comes from inside of us, right? It doesn't come from this outside perspective that we've been taught. Again, I've been taught that, I don't know, I don't want to speak for you, but that's what was the primary source of society's expectations and the teachings as I was growing up. And so this was something that, I really, for me, it was a really beautiful part of taking way more responsibility and stepping into that certainty. So there's one thing that I want to just touch on, because you ignited this part of a feeling. And, for me, I always say that feelings are actually the realest part. Like the feeling of how somebody makes you feel, how somebody doesn't make you feel, is the realest experience of life. It's more real than this chair that I'm sitting in, and that is what should drive your decisions. What do you feel about this, based off of, even the guy flipping you off, on the road, right? Like, tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, I love that. That perspective and share. One thing I will add to what we were just saying is, as you go down this path, like I said earlier, spiritual narcissism becomes like a sort of a stopping off point on the way for a lot of people. Like, I am the one, I know about reality, they don't, and they're less than me. And we got to be real careful with that. And I think it's like like I said, a stop off point on the way. And one of the things that I think helps really bring humility back to your understanding that you are God and the source, whatever you want to call it, is, and think of you are that. Yes, you are that incredible and powerful and beautiful, and no being is more worthy or ever has been, could be, or will be than you. You are it. And yet here you are, and if you start viewing everyone as the teacher and you the student, it injects a lot of humility into that. It helps to balance that truth in a way that's beneficial to your growth and, and navigation through. When I see someone who's really in their ego, I'm like, oh man, the universe is a respecter of no man, like a spanking is coming, and so I for one, I'd rather avoid those spankings and inject a good amount of humility into
I've had so many, bro, it's not even funny, like, so
right. It's like, oh man, this person, woo, buckle up, buddy. But so it's back to your question about feeling. It's everything. Like mastering your emotions. Like for me personally, I am, astrologically Leo. King of Hearts is my destiny card, which is like, the one that feels, out of 52. I don't know if you know destiny cards, but it's sort of like based off, it predates tarot. It's the playing cards were originally a divination modality. And so instead of 1 in 12, like astrology, you're 1 in 52. And so my card in that is like the one that, the most loving, but on the other side of that, the King of Hearts can be very fiery and like, like it's a double-edged sword, like everything, right? There's the up and the down of it. And so, so for me, mastering my emotions has been a huge, huge part of my journey. It's like I can be the most loving person, making everyone feel incredible around me in the room, charming, magnetic, yada, yada, everyone really comfortable, or I can burn the building down, with that same fire. And so it's very present in my own reality, like, how, and I see it all the time. Now I'm aware enough of myself, and I have moments still where it's like, oh, I just allowed my energy to get rattled. I just allowed myself to get thrown. And one of the most important things when I do that is, this is another big tip for those on the spiritual path and on the fast track to becoming their next greatest and grandest version of themselves, is you start getting self-critical, like, oh, I know better than that. And, Ram Dass talked about this. Everyone thinks they're enlightened. If you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family, right? These are the people who oftentimes are meant to push the buttons the most, right? And, or Mike Tyson, I even like the way he said it better. Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And so, oh, I am so wise and enlightened and nothing rattles me until you get punched in the face. Next thing you know, you're like a scrapping dog. And so just really being gentle with yourself on that journey, in understanding, like, mastering my emotions is the greatest thing that I can do. And I'm going to be tested in that. I'm going to become a smooth,
Immediately.
skilled sailor. And what happens, the way you can really do it is momentum is a big part of that journey. So what happens, you start becoming more self-aware. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, he talks a lot about this sort of thing. It's a great, highly recommended book. And, you start noticing when, you're being triggered, or that emotion of, anger or fear or whatever that is outside of love, peace, trust, kindness, all the things that you are aiming to be in the state as much as possible. You become a little more aware when you see it coming on, and it's easier to stop a train when it's just starting to move, right? Once you're way down the track going 85 miles an hour, it's, it becomes more challenging. So that's the trick that I found, is like, oh, I see myself, I can feel my blood pressure rising, my heart rate increasing. Okay, I'm going, the train's moving. Pull back my thought, reach for maybe I won't go from let's say a negative thought or an angry thought to just rainbows and butterflies, but I can reach for something that's more neutral. I can stop putting energy in that bucket, right? And that helps. That's a big part of it, becoming, or like Eckhart Tolle talks, realizing you're the observer behind the emotion. And that's your, these are like clouds going by. And when you can move into the observer mode, you no longer think I am that emotion. I'm not anger. I'm not that person. That's an energy flowing through me. And I'm going to observe it. And actually, by observing it, it's like pulling the plug on the vacuum. It may still run a few seconds after you pull the plug, but now the gig is up. You no longer think you're the emotion. It is energy that's passing through you, which is the unmoved mover, the consciousness that was there just observing when you were 3 years old and will be there when you're 93 years old. Same, it's your higher self, hanging out in the background, watching the play, watching the movie unfold.
This observer and watching the play, how important is it for us to utilize this when it comes to business? Because you talked really beautifully, and I really believe that it all comes together. Like, we're here, we know this, right? Like we're here to really, all parts of our life are part of the greater, let's call it business life, the same thing It's really just a big business for us, right? Like to make sure that we're grounding the energy of possibility into physical form.
Yeah.
And so I see that there's an integration there that needs to happen for more people to really bring that level of certainty with identifying that the ego can help us,
Yeah.
right? Like it doesn't need to be the part of the ego that makes it look at me, but the higher self as the observer, with the ego being the one that is the servant of that observer.
Yeah. 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 It is all spiritual business, right? So, whether you're, learning in the soul, your soul came here to grow and expand. This is a container where radical growth, where positive and negative energies mash up against each other and create friction that doesn't necessarily exist in your home on the other side. The same way, it creates an opportunity for your soul to become more. So you come here, okay, I'm going into Earth School to you mix it up, and there's going to be a lot of lessons and a lot of growth. And so yeah, I mean, when it comes to business, and you asked about, it's like I said, it's all spiritual business. It's all just, that's another arena for your growth, your relationships. I mean, those are, romantic relationships are oftentimes the greatest container and opportunity for growth. A lot of people think they're designed to last forever until death do us part. And I don't agree with that. It could be, certainly, that's certainly a path, but really we come together for an opportunity for growth. When that opportunity for growth is fully realized itself, a natural separation occurs because your soul wants to now keep growing and expanding. It's not about my only aim is for this to last forever. That's such a big misconception in our society. But same with business. It's like you're going to be in a situation, whatever situation you're in right now, business wise, relationship wise, whatever, whether you can see it or not, it is source is perfect. This is perfectly imperfect. It appears imperfect. You think your job is not right for you or whatever, it wouldn't be happening if it wasn't right for you. And once you get the lesson from the experience, you learn the message, you learn what it is trying to teach you, a natural separation will occur, right? You'll move on. So once you can start looking through that vantage point of like, oh, okay, it's all spiritual business. I'm here because this is this is the perfect jumping on off point for the next greatest and greatest version of myself. Okay, so now I want to apply and become more in my business life, to use that example. I talk about this in my book, The Golden Key. If you want to know the outcome of anything that you're putting your energy into, look at the intention going in. It will reflect that intention in some way, shape, or form. So what are your intentions? What are you aiming for? So if you're thinking about starting a business, for example, don't think about what can I sell them and make the most money? Like, think about how can I be of the most service? It is in service. I can tell you one thing, everyone listening, your highest excitement, your highest timeline will involve service in some way, shape, or form, because this is how it is in giving that we receive, because there's only one of us. So once you understand that there is only one of us, then you can, hold on one second.
It's okay. Hello. Hello.
What do you need to keep here? Oh, okay. It's hanging downstairs on the back of the chair in the dining room. Okay. Hopefully you can either edit that out or leave it in, whatever you prefer.
No, it's fine. It's amazing. This is the one of us that comes and gives us.
Yeah.
Grace,
Speaking of,
right?
okay, this is a great opportunity.
Like as you were talking about it. Right?
This is a great opportunity to share the synchronicity in reading the breadcrumbs. So that's my father, Roger. He was born on July 28th. On his 28th birthday of July 28th, he had me on July 28th. So I was his 28th birthday present. It's also his grandmother's birthday, and my great-grandmother. My great-great died on that day. My ex-business partner and villain in my story, which, as Eben Alexander, who I had on my podcast, talked about the Harvard neurosurgeon who spent a week on the other side when he was in a coma, said, "Oh, the villains are usually your best friends playing a role for you in this life." So the villain in my story that I talk about in my book, his baby mama and grandmother, July 28th. I met a soulmate on July 28th. Her boyfriend before me, his name was Anson. All my relatives with July 28th as their birthday, including my dad, are from Anson, North Carolina. Her boyfriend Anson committed suicide on July 28th, and on it goes. So that's not even the whole story. So there's an example of, like, the multi-layered, it's all reflections of the same energy in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, it's really anyway, that sidetracked me a little bit, but before that, I can't quite remember where I was, but hopefully it all makes sense in some way.
No, it's beautiful, and I think I put down July 28th for myself just to have that, and have that timeline and understanding it. I wanted to identify and understand. So with these types of experiences, right, that you're having, how did that emotion reflect when you had that, that great opportunity to sell, right, in your business, and then in 24 hours it going sideways?
Yep.
What showed up? What
Great
really
question.
helped you integrate
Great
this
question.
identification of the way to really know that this was happening for you, so that you could then apply and amplify for later?
Great question. So I can look at that business and see what was my intention going in. 2010, 2011, I was still working out some things for sure. It was certainly monetary focused, as opposed to this is my highest expression to serve the world, so I think there was a reflection in some of the energies that, even some of the things, the way we were navigating, I look back now, I wouldn't do it the same way. I think there's a more, just a even more ethical and just more heart-centered, than we were starting. And so, it's such a great question that you asked, because this is a big one in my own life. So I'll share a little of the story. So one of my best friends, I started it. I brought in my brother, and then one of my best friends as business partners early on. So I gave them equal equity to me. We were all equal partners, even though I was the founder. They're going to come work day to day. We're in this together. So so we get about 4 years in, we bring in a fourth partner to try and take us to, he was kind of a bigwig exec who had a company he took to $1 billion a year in sales and exited for lots of money. And so, okay, he's going to take us to our big sale, our big exit. Once that fourth partner came in, the third, one of my best friends, whose baby mama and grandmother both have July 28th as their birthday, him and the fourth partner became really close. And now he had attached to the fourth partner and thought, he kind of turned on me. It's like, oh, if I attach to this, bigwig exec guy, I'll get in good with him. And, kind of Brandon's the crazy spiritual one, he's talking about all this weird stuff, whatever, just kind of turned on me. And I remember in that last year when the fourth partner was there, the third, my good friend, we were having a talk one day, and he said, Brandon, you just started this new podcast, Positive Head. And, but you've started it while you're still working for our company, Resort Share. What if the fourth partner, the new guy, decided that he wanted to sue you and say, hey, Positive Head became this big thing, but he was still on payroll at Resort Share, so therefore I'm entitled to some percentage ownership. This is how they thought, right? They're very not the most ethical humans at this time, right? Anyway, and so I remember I got to say to him, I said, you know what? If he were to try and take some ownership of my podcast, I would give it to him, because I'm infinitely abundant, and there's only more where that came from. You can't take what I'm tapping into. It's infinite. Little did I know what a foreshadowing that was. A few months later, the fourth, he did his job. He got us to an exit. He got an offer from a publicly traded company who's put together 6 months of due diligence on us. And then the offer to buy us out for $30 million. Within 12 hours of that offer, we lost 90% of our revenue because of a partnership in the travel space. And one of those big players in the partnership did not like what we were doing. And yeah, I won't go into all the details. They had, we were working with booking.com and Priceline at the time. And the deal was, okay, we're going to partner with you, but you can't work with those guys anymore. Us. And so we lost 90% of our revenue that was coming through booking.com at that time. And so here we got the offer to be bought out. Oh, hold on. Your company just lost 90% of its revenue. Never mind. I'm not going to be buying you out, And then months later, we uncovered a plot between the third and fourth partner to try and take the equity that was left, me and my brother's equity, try and kind of get us out of it and get us out of the picture. And we uncovered this plot because my brother happened to log into his email via webmail and see, he had connected emails with one of them years past for something. In webmail, you could see it all in one big feed, and you could see how they're trying to finagle to take our equity from us. And so we went to them. I remember it was Christmas Eve, 2015, and said, hey, friend, I've uncovered your plot to try and take what's left from me after we just got hit by this asteroid of losing 90% of our revenue. You don't have to try and take what's left. You can have it. I just want away from U2's toxic energy, and we're going to go start over. And so I got to live it out. I talked about it in the context of Positive Head and, hypothetically months earlier, and I actually got to walk that talk. And it was hard, as you can imagine. We'd just been offered $30 million a few months earlier, and I literally walked away from it and gave it what was my shares away. And we started a new company called Hello Vacay, and actually some really good things happening with that right now. And, so yeah, that's an example. But because I had the perspective of like, I'm infinitely abundant, this is not easy. This is really hard. And I can see why. I can see, I had a lot of fear in the early years of business of someone taking my ideas and, that kind of energy. And so I can see where I contributed to its manifestation. Not early days, like I said, we weren't doing anything bad, but we weren't as ethical as I would be now, it's like, oh, okay. Doesn't fully surprise me that I didn't get the big win I wanted, I could have done a lot better, and so now I understand whatever I'm doing, it better be in service for me to get what is my intention going in, because the reflection and the outcome will be that energy of the intention going in will be all over it.
I commend you. I think it's beautiful that you were able to just walk away from that. There's a lot of people that wouldn't, and so really giving yourself that state of grace and allowing that to come through is a beautiful expression of who you are, and knowing the resilience that we continue to show up as leaders in the business world. Because it's funny, and I'm curious, may I ask how old these gentlemen were, like the third and fourth partner?
The third partner, so I'm 48. The third partner is about 10 years younger than me. And the fourth partner is about 10 years older than me. So those two have probably a 20-year gap. I'm in between them.
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of I had a really beautiful business meeting last week, and with gentlemen that were in their 70s, and their perspective on business is really about one person needs to win and the other one needs to lose, and I totally disagree with that. And
100% disagree. If you and I make a deal and someone feels like they lost down the road because I out negotiated you or whatever, everyone loses, I believe.
Exactly.
I need to be, if I'm smart, I'm saying, how will this benefit Eric, and how am I looking out for him as much as myself?
Exactly. And these guys were trying to convince me. Wake up. Okay, sorry, the light. They were trying to convince me that that's how business works. And I said, you guys have it wrong. You guys are like, this paradigm that you guys live in is not real.
It's old.
It's not real.
It's old energy. It's old world.
Exactly. And it was beautiful to challenge this. And so, and in fact, I said, listen, guys, like with this, I never want to do business with you. I actually, and neither will ever any of my friends.
Yep. Right.
And what I love about this, bro, is that we bring a new paradigm into the business world, and we are here to really co-create something greater. And it's fascinating because these men are like, hey, I'm 72 years old, and I have all this wisdom. And they say this and express this. And they say, with the attitude that you show up in, Eric, I don't see a very good future for you. And it makes me really beautifully excited because, bro, what are we going to say to our next generation? Like you and me will be sitting at a table teaching them how
Very
we've
different.
been winning for
Very
the last 40 years and what we've been creating because of the ways that we show up today now for each other.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. I talk about this in the Golden Key, how, there's cycles, on this planet, and we're in a cycle of awakening and remembering. And, you have like people like the Mayans who talked about like 2012 being the beginning of a whole new, era on our planet. So they're talking about old paradigm energy when we were in a cycle of separation from source, even going back to the dark ages and beyond. It's like, it's very masculine energy. It's about us, our souls experiencing complete amnesia to our divine selves, essentially. And even when we do think we're tapping into it, it's like, I am a Christian and therefore I'm going to kill you if you're not one. It's like, what in the world does that have to do with love? And
yeah,
so
exactly.
it's the exact opposite. It's been hijacked. And so I talk about it in the book where it's like, look, some of those techniques these guys are referencing maybe appeared to work in the past, if you're looking at dollars in a bank account or whatever. Now, was the person who owned that bank account happy and fulfilled and at peace? I bet you not. but those techniques, even that worked in the old world and the old cycle, are way less empowered in the new cycle, because we're at a point where it's like, yeah, it's not about experiencing separation and allowing these energies to dominate the planet with their, like, Rockefeller type, I'm going to take over the world, and if I have to, make you all suffer to do it, that's too bad. Like, when we're in a cycle when collectively we are trying to experience more separation energy, still it appeared on one level to work. So they're talking about that. They're not even understanding that we're in a whole new era and age of awakening, where more than ever, you better look at your intentions going in, because it's a different game. And you want to see yourself get bit quickly, putting out the wrong end, especially if you understand these concepts. Like, they're speaking, they're like relics, talking about something from a narrow vantage point of perspective and understanding.
And this is why, for anybody listening, that it's imperative that you understand that there is infinite time, infinite perspectives, and infinite ways that you get to live. So you get to choose how to show up in your reality. And like Brandon was just saying, this is relic, historical, data coming from men that literally, like, they don't understand the level of paradigm that we're living in, that we get to live in, that they can actually tap into if they chose to, right? And so this is something I think is really important. So I know that you mentioned some of this beautiful topics inside of your book. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the book and where people can find it?
Yeah.
They can find more information about it.
Yeah, sure. So during COVID, I was, some spiritual breadcrumbs sort of led. I always knew I would write a book, and it led me to the path of, spending some time. I'm 25 years deep exploration of the ultimate nature of reality. And okay, I have a lot to say. I've done almost 2,000 podcasts with Positive Head. Obviously I say a lot, and it's like, okay, I'd like to condense everything that I've learned and experienced over this 25-year journey into 100 pages and 3 hours till, if you listen to the audiobook. How do I actually condense this down? And that's what the Golden Key is about. I found, kind of broke down the 8 keys I found to, the subtitle of the book is Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. And not just talking about financial abundance. A lot of times people think of that abundance in all areas of your life, health being probably the most important, healthy relationships. And, there's just so many ways that we can experience the infinite abundance that we are connected to. And so, yeah, that's what the book is about. And I decided, always wanting to do things a little bit different. I was like, you know what, I'm going to structure it where I give the book away and others can give it away as well. And there's a whole gamification aspect to that. I don't know, did Monique have you create, or did Monique create a key code for you for this show? And if not, that's okay. I can give them a different one. I just didn't know if
No, we
okay.
didn't get one, and maybe she sent me something, but I
That's
didn't.
okay. It's not a big deal. I can tell them how to do it either way. If you go to goldenKey.gift.
With the code positive head.
Yep, right? With the code positive head, you can download the audio and or ebook. And yeah, it's me narrating the audiobook. And like I said, it's about a 3-hour listen or 100 pages to read. And it's the 8 keys that I found over my 25-year deep exploration, just kind of condensed as well as I possibly could.
Super exciting, bro. I'm definitely looking forward to reading it. I'm reading actually right now Sati and Raya's Transcendent CEO. It's really beautiful.
I'm not familiar with that. Yeah, sounds cool though. I like the title.
Yeah, it's a really interesting book. Actually, I think it'd be great for I'm meeting him next week. It'd be great for you to meet him as well.
Yeah, I'd love to check.
He's from Vancouver, a great guy, great leader as well in the corporate and culture and organizational business. So anyways, there's going to be so many things, bro, that I'm excited to talk to you about offline as well, and
cool
in the creative business capacity. So I'd really love to transfer and just really get, because I know we have a few minutes left. If you had 3 days left to live, bro,
wow,
what would you do?
If I had 3 days left to live, I would spend time. Great question. Fun question. I would spend time with my family. I would make sure I said all the things that I hadn't said, make sure nothing is left unsaid. I would spend as much time just, creating moments, that feel, it would make me very present. My initials are BBB, and I look at that as an encoded message from my soul to remember I'm such a doer. I mean, one of my challenges is sort of managing the energy, the fire hose of energy, and wanting to do this and this and this, and 5 businesses going at once and go. And really, one of the keys in the book is BBB and learning to really be present, and fully take in the moment, and realizing that every moment is as divine as any other moment ever has been, could be, or will be. And there's nowhere that you have to go. There's nowhere that you need to get. You are in eternity now. This is eternity. You are worthy by virtue of your existence. So anything that you do should be flavored with the knowing that, like, this isn't necessary for me to prove myself to be worthy. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to get. It's like Ram Dass says, at the end of the day, we realize we're all just sitting around the fire for eternity. Right. Yeah. And so there's nothing that you have to do. There's nothing that you have to be. Your survival is guaranteed. You're an infinite being that is always has been, will be. And any challenge that's arisen is only there to make you more. And you've always gotten through it. And, if you love something, be extra present, because it's guaranteed to end. If you don't love something, be extra present. Understand that it's going to end. So you don't have to be too caught up on, the fact that this is going on. Oh, okay, well, this has a shelf life and I made it through every other thing I didn't prefer. And so, yeah, I think that's really what it's about is, if you can bring that 3-day awareness to every moment, like this is precious, this opportunity to be here is precious. And the only thing I need to do, the more present I am, the more power comes through me, instead of working. Most people do something like work in order to have something like money, in order to be something like happy, right? Do, have, be. Really, you be something like happy and present, and you find yourself doing and having things that are a reflection of that energy. So the only job I like to say we have is to manage our vibration. It all comes from there. There is no out there. You chasing to find something is fallacy. It's ludicrous. It's understandable, but that's what you came to realize. Hold on. If I want to change something, it starts here, because that shows up as a reflection of my internal state. And so you're perfectly primed in the perfect spot to move into what's the next greatest and greatest version of yourself. Knowing that, whether you see how to connect all the dots forward, you don't need to. All you need to know is, what is my highest excitement now? How can I be as present now, as of service now? Who's more important, Gandhi or Gandhi's grandmother, the one who cared for him, right? She affected that one person who affected 100 million people. So hold on. Well, I'd say you could argue she's more important, because without her, there is no him. So go affect the person at the coffee shop, the one walking by you on the street. You don't need to be the biggest influencer or any of that. You need to be the best version of yourself and be present and show up for it now, and everything will unfold from there.
You're a gift, my brother. You're a beautiful gift, and I'm very grateful to know you, and I appreciate you. You unlocked a golden key today for sure, and I have to say that it's my birthday today. It's my 36th birthday. So
whoa, amazing!
Great gift to hear. Yeah.
Oh wow! Happy 3D incarnation anniversary, as I like to say. You weren't created 36 years ago. You incarnated you were born to this dimension, as a part of you died to the one from where you came. And this is, this is what's going on. And wow, what an honor to be here on your 36th birthday and to share this experience with you. And of course, I reflect everything you said to me back to you. We are reflections of each other. And for us to experience each other out of 8 billion people on the planet, and everyone tuning into this relatively little show that is, in a sea of things vying for your precious attention, you're tuned in here because you're such a close vibrational match to all the energy that Eric and we are co-creating together. That this is, if source is an infinite tree, it's beyond scope. Imagine a tree stretching in all directions, right? And yet, even though it's infinite, there happen to be leaves on a particular branch flapping in the winds of eternity together. And that's us here now. And that's because we're so closely related. So anything you see in me is you, and vice versa. It's like, and so all I can say is congratulations for us to get to this point. We've went through a lot. There's a lot of work. Your soul has done an awful lot to get here. And there's so much beauty ahead. Just keep your head up. It all starts with, tapping into your own self-worth and you're keeping your heart open.
Bless you, brother. I'm really grateful, and I'm excited to continue to co-create, bro. Is there any? Yeah. Is there actually? Let's stay in touch. Let's really connect. And and bro, with that being said, I just want to say, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you so much for listening to the Resilient Minds. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please make sure to go comment and like, and follow us on iTunes or Spotify, and please make sure that if you really love this, to share this episode, and make sure that you're inviting all your friends to like it as we continue to unfold
what the beauty of our minds does, more importantly, how powerful our heart level of intelligence can be when we combine our heart and our brain together. And more importantly, check out the alignment course that I've created. It's seriously there for you to take advantage of at www.ericbalance.com/alignment. See you on the next show.